All right. Today, we are diving into something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually happening right now. We're talking about smart buildings. And not just smart, but buildings that actively work with us. To really get what that means, let's kick things off with a question. So just think about this for a second. What if the building you're in right now knew it was making you, well, less productive? What if the walls around you could actually sense that the air quality is making you a little sleepy, or that the lighting is giving you a headache, and then, do something about it? This one question, it really gets to the core of where all this building tech is going. So let's start with the problem. The biggest issue we have right now is that most of our buildings, they're just unresponsive. They're static. I mean, sure, they're great shelters, but they don't really react to our needs, which change all day long. They're just kind of there. Now, obviously, we can't just plug a sensor into someone to measure their performance. That's not how it works. But what we can do, and do really well, is measure all the things in the environment that mess with our performance. Stuff like temperature, humidity, the CO2 levels in the air, even tiny particles and other compounds. As soon as those things get out of their sweet spot, our ability to focus and get work done just tanks. And we can track that drop-off with some serious precision. So, you see, the goal isn't just about knowing when things are off. That's just step one. The real end game here is for the building to spot a problem and then fix it on its own, instantly. We're talking about a building that's autonomous, one that can self-correct and is totally purpose-driven. And that purpose? Making the environment as good as it can possibly be for the people inside. Okay, so how in the world do we get there? Well, the very first, most critical piece of the puzzle is something called a digital twin. The best way to think about it? It's like the building's brain, or maybe its consciousness, a living, breathing, virtual mirror of the actual physical building.
Now, a lot of people hear digital twin and they immediately think of a blueprint, right? Or what the industry calls a BIM, a building information model. But nope, they're totally different things. A blueprint, that's just a static record of how the building was designed. It's a snapshot in time. A digital twin, though, that's something else entirely. It takes that original design data and then, this is the key, it combines it with live, real-time data from the actual operating building. So it's not a snapshot, it's a dynamic, predictive, and truly living model.
Okay, so let's get a bit more formal for a second. The official definition is basically this. It's a virtual model designed to accurately reflect a physical building, and it does it in real time. It's constantly pulling in data from all over the place. We're talking sensors, maintenance logs, heck, even the local weather forecast. And it uses all that to simulate what's going on, analyze it, and then figure out how to optimize pretty much everything, from energy bills to how comfortable you are at your desk. So, you might be wondering, how does a simple, static blueprint turn into this intelligent thinking system? Well, it all comes down to the journey the data takes, its life cycle. This whole thing really happens in 3 big phases. First up is the design phase. This is where that BIM is used to simulate how the building is going to perform, way before anyone even thinks about breaking ground. Then you've got the construction phase. Here, the BIM is a lifesaver for planning logistics and making sure, a pipe doesn't end up where a vent should be. But the real magic happens in the operation phase. This is the moment the BIM gets plugged into all those live data streams and officially transforms into the digital twin. It's like it finally wakes up. So what actually brings it to life? You can kind of think of the building's active systems as its nervous system. I'm talking about anything and everything that uses power. The HVAC, the lights, the security cameras, EV chargers, you name it. Plus a whole army of sensors for temperature, humidity, CO2, all that stuff. All of these things are constantly feeding real-time data back to the digital twin. That's the info that lets the brain actually see or perceive what's going on inside. Now, let's be real for a minute. Making a true digital twin, it's not easy. It's super complex. You're dealing with tricky software, a ton of integrations, and you need people who really know what they're doing. But, and this is so important to get, it is the absolute 100% non-negotiable foundation you need for the next giant leap forward. And that leap is AI. See, once you have that solid AI-ready foundation in place, you can go way beyond just a building that automates a few tasks. You can actually create a building that becomes an active partner, a collaborator. And that leads us to this really cool concept, the agentic partner. An agentic partner is way, way more than just a smart thermostat. We're talking about an autonomous AI system that proactively works with the humans in charge. It actually understands the goals, things like keep everyone comfortable but use as little energy as possible. So, for example, it might, all on its own, negotiate with the power grid to buy electricity when it's cheapest overnight, store that energy, and then use it to pre-cool the entire building just before a heat wave hits the next afternoon. Pretty amazing, right?
So, what does a system like that actually need to have? Well, first, it's got to have autonomy, the ability to act on its own without you telling it what to do every second. It needs perception, which it gets from all those sensors. It uses AI for real decision making. It's action oriented, meaning it can actually do things. And crucially, it has adaptability. It learns from what happened in the past. And all of this is wrapped up in being goal driven. It's always working towards whatever objectives you set for it.
Okay, I know this all sounds pretty futuristic, but what's the big takeaway for anyone who's designing a building or constructing one or even investing in property today? Why is this so important right now? Well, it all comes down to this. The single most critical thing to remember is that this isn't some software update you can just install later on. It doesn't work that way. The foundation for an AI-ready building, that whole digital nervous system we talked about, it has to be planned and designed in from day one, before the first shovel even touches the dirt. And this quote here, it just says it all perfectly. Without the proper instrumentation at construction, the building and its occupants will never reach their full potential. I mean, think about that. If you don't build in the right sensors and the right systems from the very beginning, you are permanently capping what that building can do. The building will never be as good as it could be, and neither will the people working inside it. And that leaves us with one last, kind of mind-bending question to chew on. If our buildings can see, think, act, and learn right alongside us, all to help us reach our goals, are they really just buildings anymore? Or are we standing on the edge of a future where the place we work becomes our newest colleague? Something to think about.